Hi, I'm Steve Bowman. Today we're talking about alcohol and other drugs, which is AOD and recovery, and about the addicted family primarily. I'm going to do a recap of the last session we did, talking about the different role models within the family. The first role model, obviously, when you have an addicted family, is the addict and or addicts. But we're going to focus on the chief addict, the head addict. Could be, one of the kids, could be dad, mom, whatever. But let's just use an example of dad. Let's just say dad is the primary addict. Mom struggles with some of her own substance abuse to cope with dad and life and holding down the fort, if you will. And dad is addicted to, let's say, pain meds, let's say heroin, crack, whatever. Within that system, what mom does is she tries to keep the family together and ultimately becomes the chief enabler. She usually won't become addicted, even though she may struggle with some substance abuse again to cope, because she feels the world is on her shoulders. It's up to her to hold things together. It is an insurmountable amount of stress on a person and will basically rob them of years of their life, as addiction will rob the family of its life eventually. Also, I want to talk about the hero child. Now, remember, this is a recap of the last session. So the hero child, the one that's usually super successful, overachiever, doesn't get involved in the addiction at all, especially early on, and is always focused on positive things, goal-driven, more than one goal, and not even grandiose, usually gets done everything they set out to do. The problem with the hero child on down the road as they're raised up in this addicted family is that they usually fall apart at some point, usually late 20s, early 30s. Known to have a lot of mental breakdowns, depression, suicide, especially white males. So, there's always some explosive factor involved with the addicted family in these roles. So keep in mind the hero child, usually the one that's, why can't you be more like your brother Johnny? Well, Johnny's probably going to self-disintegrate at some later time. If not, he's going to struggle emotionally and or physically. Moving on, we're talking about the mascot now, the mascot of the family. What's the mascot do? Well, as I said last time, the mascot is the one that's funny and puts humor on everything. And dad's drunk and falling in the corner, or mom's drunk, and he says, well, at least he didn't fall through the bathtub this time or through the window, and tries to make light of every situation. Always the comedian of the family. And that's how the mascot copes with the stress of the addicted family. They always want to be funny and lighten up the situation. Also want to talk about the scapegoat. The scapegoat is the one who always is in trouble, always defocuses all the negative attention within the family by being even worse. So therefore, when the scapegoat is focused on is like you have a family that's completely addicted and completely dysfunctional, they're all together if he's really bad. So they're all trying to put little Johnny back together, because he's down at juvenile detention hall, when really, and then they all go home and abuse. So they're separate, addictions. So it looks good, for them. He knows that what he's doing subconsciously is taking the focus off of the negative family and putting it on himself. And therefore, he also cries out for attention. Even if it's negative attention, he's getting attention. Dad may be drunk, mom may be too busy being the enabler, and he gets their full attention when he is acting out, and he knows that. So it is basically subconscious and conscious, and that's basically what the scapegoat does. There's the lost child also. The lost child is the one that usually withdraws, stays to themselves. There may be total chaos going on. The lost child can be over here in the corner playing with her doll baby, just not paying any attention to anything, doesn't seem to let anything get to them. The lost child is usually depressed at a very young age and often struggles through their entire life with depression. And a lot of times they're the first one to move away when they grow up. They just completely just go away. They just move away, no contact with family, no nothing. And it's just their way of coping. It's what they've learned to do is be a recluse. I want to talk now about the enabler and or enablers. Why do I say that? Because we're going to move off into talking about other family members. The enabler, as I said earlier, could be the wife or husband. It could actually even be a child if the person is grown and the child is working. but usually it's one of the spouses. But what the spouse when the spouse has to work and hold the fort down, sometimes the other family members will come in. Say it's a woman, her sisters or her mom or her grandma will come in, and they'll enable too. And sometimes their system and within their family and their norms was addicted all through their life, so they will actually groom this person their entire life to be addicted because they have to have self-worth. Their self-worth comes from where? Keeping this person together. Always living for this person, never living for themselves, never getting a life of themselves or caring about themselves because they're always addicted to this person and fixing this person. It's a vicious cycle. And what will happen is a lot of times the family norm is the mom, say mom is addicted to benzodiazepines or Valium, if you will, and Xanax and so forth. And she's just taking them every night to cope. So she has a light addiction, if you will, whereas dad is full-blown addiction. So the kids learn to adapt to them behaviors. Kids are smart. You know, you were probably a smart kid, right? So you seen what was going on around you just as your children and their children will see what's going on around them. They observe everything. They see mom's behavior change in the evening and her get lethargic. They see dad come home, when to hit dad up for money, when dad's in a bad mood, when there's a red alert with dad, whatever's going on. Kids learn to adapt. They're chameleons. A lot of people will say kids are resilient, and some of that may be true, but I also think that kids suffer so much as a result of addiction that, you know, it's just sad because basically they're going to have choices to make when they get older. And if the family's norm is to be addicted, the chance for the child to be addicted is high, especially if, as I talked about earlier, they have what some people call the genetic gene. I call it a genetic. It's a predisposition, basically, to be addicted. A lot of times people can abuse, and you know, somebody that can abuse can drink beer. They can decide to get drunk. They can decide to have two, or they can decide not to drink. Whereas the alcoholic will always get drunk. Drink to get drunk. That's always the mission. Otherwise, why do it? So as we all know, alcohol don't taste very good, so you must be doing it for something, right? So within the system of the family norms, I want to talk about how if, let's just say, for instance, somebody dies or goes to prison and is removed from the family system, the chief addict, okay? The chief addict is removed. What happens then? Now they're gone. The whole family tries to figure out what to do, how to adapt to this. So typically what will happen is, I talked about the enablers. The enablers will come together and they don't have, you know, Bill no more to take care of and worry about and fix. Now they'll focus on the next child. Say one of the children are using drugs and abusing drugs and slowly becoming addicted. As addiction is progressive, it is a disease. So it is progressive. The old, it's a choice thing, not true. It's only a choice if you know you have a predisposition to be addicted and you put the drugs in your body. At that point, it becomes a choice because you had the information, right? You had the information. But if the norm is to be addicted within that family, it's normal, right? So how would you know any different? So what the family will do is they will come together with, say, little Billy, as I said, and he will be semi-addicted, and they will all start locking on him and what he needs to fix him. They will not only enable his addiction, but they again will start grooming him to become the one who is dead or in prison. And it's a vicious cycle. In the meantime, everybody else, not always, but a lot of times all the other roles I spoke of may be abusing and slowly becoming addicted too, and some faster, but usually addiction is always progressive, so it takes time. It's over time with experimenting and you know, trying this and trying that until some people in recovery like to say that my drug of choice. I like to say that whichever one sets off the addiction could be considered your drug of choice, so it doesn't matter. You know, a lot of us, myself being in recovery, it didn't matter. My drug was your drug. So, you know, it was a trash can. It didn't matter to me. There were ones that took me to my knees, and a little bit of self-disclosure there. So remember, it doesn't necessarily have to be the one to take you to your knees to cause the problems. Also remember that the family, what they do is they're so used to putting everything back together that they will complain the whole time. They are so fed up. They are so fed up, but they're stuck in the problem. They're stuck in little Billy's problem. They're not stuck in their own problem. See, when I have to fix you, I don't have to worry about me. Therefore, I can take the focus off of me to fix little Billy. and my life looks pretty good. And even though I might be abusing pain medication, drinking too much or whatever, if I'm going to work every day, I have a paycheck, a car, a house, and I may drink 3 to 4 times a week and abuse every time, and I'm probably an alcoholic. But compared to little Billy, who can't even work because he's so addicted, I look pretty darn good, don't I? Again, keeping the focus off myself. And this is the way the addicted family works. I'd said a little bit about self-disclosure. I was raised up in an alcoholic family, so being an alcoholic is normal within my own family. So ask yourself, what's normal within your family? If you're sitting in a jail, an institution, and you're headed to a quick and swift death as a result of your physical health from drugs, something to think about. What is your addiction and what's going on with you?